order this evening. First, I'd like to take a roll call by going around, and people, if you would identify your presence here with us tonight. We'll start on the far side over here.
Gay Brewer, cab.
Andrew Paul, cab. Taylor Woods, cab.
Billy Bob Clark, cab.
Fran Johnson, cab, vice chair.
Don Barger, cab chair.
Kelly Lane, Department of Energy.
April Ladd, Department of Energy, DDFO.
Buzz Smith, DOE, Federal Coordinator.
Eric Roberts, Sports Center.
Haley Wiggins, CHI Sports Center.
Darla Bowen, Elliot. Harry Evans, Kentucky Department of Environmental Protection.
Greg Simonton, Department of Energy, Portsmouth site.
Is that where it does?
Awesome. It looks like online we have, from some undisclosed location, Clint Combs. And then we have Julie Galloway and Brian. Hey, Clint, how are you, buddy?
Great. I will disclose my location. I'm in Cadiz, Kentucky at the
That's
state
right.
park for a conference.
Clint, we weren't able to hear you. Got Sonia Smiley with Commonwealth of Kentucky, Victor Weeks with EPA. How are you guys?
Doing fine, thank you.
Or I assume they're doing well.
Yeah.
Hey, Victor, are you there, buddy?
Yeah, I spoke up, but you didn't hear me, so. Are you hearing me now?
You want to put it out? Does that work?
What's
I'm gonna-
That's microphone gets up to speaker.
I'm gonna get out and come back in.
Hey, are you there, Victor?
Totally on.
All right. Hey, technology, great. This is the best. So we have Brian Lanehart, Sonia Smiley. Hey, Victor, are you there, buddy?
So,
Yeah, I'll try it again. Can you hear me this time?
I hear you. I think that problem is on our end. Thank you for
That's
being
no
patient.
problem. Hey, I just got out and came back in, so thank you.
Yes. All right, so we want to thank those that are joining us online.
You have in front of you a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes or additions that need to be made to that agenda this evening? Hearing none, the agenda will be as printed this evening. Up first will be DOE comments. I know, April, you're speaking a little later, but any general comments?
Yeah, so, continue to make progress at the site. We did, get the fiscal year 24 budget enacted. We are at about 61% on disposition of the R-114 out of the 8.5 million pounds. So that continues to move well. For footprint reduction, we've demolished about 5 facilities to date. And that work's progressing well. And then the activation in the 333 process building, we segmented, I think, this week, 2 additional, so we're at 19 converters segmented for this week. So that's the highlights.
Okay, any questions for April on her highlights? Buzz, anything
I
you
just,
said?
I just want to recognize my counterpart in Portsmouth, Greg Simonton, and that's the gentleman in the back corner, and he is a federal coordinator for the Portsmouth tab. So we're glad to have him and appreciate him coming down, sharing his knowledge and best practice. Well,
Do any of our liaisons that are attending today have any comments?
Yeah, this is Victor Weeks with EPA. I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Any other comments? Hearing none. Eric, are there any administrative issues we need to cover tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on. Under presentations on your agenda, the first thing before we get to April's and Kelly's presentation will be the video. So when you're ready, Haley, with the video.
My name is Heather Coffee Groves. I'm a waste engineer. I'm Stacy Marinelli, and I work with Slick and Staley, and I'm an engineering manager. My name is Joyce Lightfoot. I'm a utilities operator and also the USW Operations Committee person.
My name is Amber Bellamy. I am an occupational medicine specialist, and I work at Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership.
The previous generation of women, they laid the foundation, and they had many more obstacles to deal with on a daily basis. You see that example and it encourages you, and you see what they've accomplished, and you just want to continue to carry that on. Grateful, absolutely grateful that, you know, they stuck it out to do whatever they need so I don't have to. And hopefully me doing it will provide a little extra for my daughter when she decides whatever she wants to do later in life. The women at the site are in higher positions than ever before. They're over the departments when they're making decisions. We've had a woman over the union. We have a woman plant manager. So the women are definitely making an impact and have emerged.
I think one of the biggest obstacles that women face today is really just trying to stand out and have confidence in a male-dominated industry.
I think that women provide a different perspective. There was a lot of pressure to be successful, to prove that I was capable and as knowledgeable on the job as the men. When I was in an administrative position, when I first hired in 2001, I didn't feel that pressure because the mindset, you know, is a woman in the office. But when I went into the field, it was a different perspective. A lot of men felt like women shouldn't be doing that. So I felt a lot of pressure. Fortunately, we had men in our department that didn't share those thoughts and beliefs. And, you know, they helped us overcome some of the pressures that we felt. I think it's important that when women enter into our workforce, that they see someone that looks like them.
I think one of the biggest opportunities that I see is for current women in the industry to reach out to younger women, whether that be younger professionals or girls that are still in school, and really helping them understand how powerful they can be in the workplace.
I think it's important to continue to mentor and just show them the way and give them tips on what you've used throughout your career, challenges you've had, and just pass on that knowledge that you've learned. Given the opportunity, I think we have shown that women are capable of doing the job.
Just be confident in yourself. Being a good person, working hard at your job, that alone will say enough and help you get to wherever you want to be.
Just want to make a comment. That video is great. I mean, we've got a lot of good, good play on it. That was shown before the Chamber of Commerce meeting. There were like 250 people there. And it also was shown last Saturday night at the Power of One Women's Empowerment event. And there were like 110 people on that. So it's just, it's gotten a lot of play. So it's been good.
Anyone else have comments?
Hey, Don. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's my only comment, and this, you know, I'd had watched it previously when it was made available to us, the title, Women's History at the Paducah Gas Distribution Plant. And the one lady references when she first administrative position in 2001. What I'm missing is the history. There were some pictures I know of earlier on, but I know there are people still in the community who work there, and I wonder if we're missing that part of history, what it's all about. I know, again, that you're limited time-wise, but that was I was looking for the history part of it, really more than that.
Thank you.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Don, has watched this a couple times, but instead of here with you guys tonight, and kind of playing off what Wes had said, this might be and be interested what you guys think, an opportunity to kind of write a thank you kudos letter to April on this video as the DDFO. provide some brief recommendation, we recommend it be made available or whatever. Girls in STEM or whatever, something like that. But coming from the CAB, kind of an acknowledgement of the video, our CC list helps spread this through congressional, local elected officials, headquarters, and really allow these videos to become an asset that, the site can get some credit for and hopefully build off in the future. Just if you guys are interested, that might be something we could look into.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, another just comment is 4 of the 5 program managers at the plant are female. So Slifton Staley, Tammy Courtney, Mary Redfield with Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, Jolie Fleming with ETAS, and then myself with DOE. The other missing link to everybody is Rob Gentry with the MCS. But so that's pretty unique to be in that paradigm and dynamic today out there.
Thank you. Oh, April and Kelly, you ready?
I'm delegating. This is the
That makes
Kelly
it
show.
makes it easier.
I'm gonna be the Kelly show.
Okay, so everybody has in front of them, you have a PFAS packet. It's gonna be displayed up on the board or the screen as well. April gave this, in full disclosure, April gave this same presentation, like December timeframe, something like that. And it's something that is being shared across the complex with the addition of a few pages at the end. It's Paducah specific. I can share a couple of updates, just a status sheet of where we went from December till now. But as you all continue to be in front of other groups, you're going to be hearing more about PFAS. And so this is a lot of information to digest. And so, yes, we are using the same information we gave before, but yeah, I think it will be a great refresher. And hearing it the second time, I think can't hurt for sure. So, we'll go ahead and start. With the PFAS, of course, PFAS is polyfluoroalkyl substances. We'll go through the background on the agenda, the background, the DOE actions that we've taken, the continuing efforts that DOE complex-wide are taking, not just necessarily at Paducah, but complex-wide. Paducah does have a few differences there, or a few more additional efforts, and then PFAS resources. Okay, so background. What are PFAS? So PFAS is a group of thousands of man-made chemicals. They were first manufactured back in the 40s. They're the forever chemicals. We have found them in everything. They're found in land, air, water, plants, animals. Just globally, name a media, we have found PFAS in it. So PFAS is basically, and of course it stands for there's 2 different components of PFAS. So if you think about PFAS being like a large umbrella, of just a big global statement of this chemical compound and substances, there's 2 like subcategories. So those 2 subcategories that fall under that PFAS umbrella are the perfluorooctanoic acid, which is PFOA, and then the perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, which is PFOS. So PFOS and PFOA are subcategories, if you will. Maybe a good way to think of it is PFAS. For the most part, what you're going to see a lot of identification in talking about PFAS is most of the time people think that it's synonymous, that PFAS is synonymous with AFFF. AFFF is aqueous film forming foam. It's the most common, widely used type of PFAS. So again, a lot of people think they're synonymous. They're not. The AFFF is just a really large percentage of the types of PFAS compounds there are out there. Okay, so again, here are the main priorities, or main subsets, if you will, or instances, examples of where you're going to find PFAS. So I'm going to start up there where it talks about, the firefighting foam. Again, AFFF, firefighting foam, all those are used interchangeably, but there's certainly more than that. So you have water-resistant clothing, you have paint, you have cosmetics, photography, pesticides, microwave popcorn bags, stain-resistant products, stain-resistant furniture. Of course, that's your Scotch Guard, right? You know, that's the best thing ever, right? Whenever we first came out, that keeps your furniture clean. Fast food packaging, non-stick, soft cookware, and then personal care products. So those are all examples of things that you probably have come in contact with in your life, if not all of those. There are items that contain PFAS. So we're not even talking industry. We're just talking about as just a citizen in America today. Those are the most things that you're probably coming in contact with. And even if you're not an industrial worker, those are types of products that is a citizen that you are coming in contact with. Any thoughts there? You can pause for a second, or is that Dawn's pondering?
Well, you want me to ask the question now?
Sure,
But
you
may
go.
go on.
No, go ahead.
Whether ultimately people are diagnosed with some illness. I know there are some that are related to this, and they want to attribute it to their work at the plant. How do you pull out all of these other exposures to say, yes, it was the plant versus you lived? That's where it came in.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think we are too early on as we go through this process, DOE and any government agency, right? We're trying to figure out, how are we going to navigate? And as we gain more data, there's a hypothesis, right, that you go into something. And as you gain data, you're gonna have to see how it fits into your thought process of your conclusion. And you may have to pivot and go, okay, yeah, that doesn't make sense. The more knowledge we gain, but for right now, I can't answer that. And I don't think anybody can answer that.
I didn't figure we did, but I thought, okay, that's just that
No.
nagging question that says, how are we gonna do that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. Anybody else? No. Okay, so the background, this is something that probably a lot of people are not familiar with. Really, PFAS gets its birth from the uranium, or one of the main births of it is from the uranium enrichment process. So, of course, you can read the timeline there, but, we started discovering early on, whenever Teflon and those types of substances were being developed. Whenever we started looking at the Manhattan Project, and you start talking about UF6, I think everyone knows how corrosive that UF6 is. And so to make the gaseous diffusion process, you're going to have something that can stand up against that, something that corrosive. Enter the stage of Teflon, enter the stage of something that can resist and continue to allow the uranium enrichment process to move forward, that's not going to corrode and disintegrate. So as we went through, as we were going through with the atomic bomb development, they immediately recognized that by the enrichment of Deuterium-5, we could really utilize PFAS chemicals. So it was really a pertinent part of the uranium enrichment development. So they were first, like I said, they were first classified as an industrial use. So at first we knew those were PFAS, and we saw it just as an industry. Industrial use, not necessarily consumer use, but an industrial use. And then after the war ended, somebody looked at this, thought, wow, we can use this more than just in uranium enrichment process. We can use this more than just in an industrial process. They took it after World War II and they started applying it to all sectors of consumer products. So that's when you started seeing, if you think about it, after World War II, you start thinking about all those, everything from Scotch Guard to consumer products. It really started becoming prevalent. It was a multi-use type of product. Okay, so just again, some examples, and these are really more not consumer-based, but more industrial-based, but just again, to kind of give you an idea of how they were utilized. So again, in the industry of firefighting and safety, the AFFF, it's very prevalent, obviously, in firefighting equipment and their protective clothing, not just the foam itself, but in their PPE. Metal plating, it was a weighting agent for that. The building and construction, It's in everything from paints to caulks, to metals, to stone, to concrete, to dyes, to stains, any type of building and construction material, PFAS are gonna be present. In the energy sector, they're in electrolyte fuel cells, in types of, again, power plants, expansion joints. It allows for that, it holds up to heat, holds up to, chemical corrosivity, type of chemical reactions. Then we started looking at herbicides and pesticides. Wow, really helped those. It was a great regulator. It killed ants, termites. It was good for pesticides, herbicides across the board, herbicides and pesticides. And then, of course, in the aviation and the automotive industry, they're used in mechanical components, wiring, cable, tubing, seals. And so some of that go back to think about, we're talking about Teflon, any type of sealing agent, something that you want to firm seal, that can stand it to heat, and any type of chemical reaction. PFAS was a great player there. Okay, next slide. Okay, so then this is just an overall look at the manufacturing. At the top there, you see a schematic of an industry and how it flows down. So PFAS are manufactured, and these are kind of some big buckets, if you will. The bucket of firefighting foam, AFFF, that is a really large component of the PFAS present on our planet. The next bucket, so to speak, is that waste from industry. And then that third bucket is your consumer products. Again, it's makeup, it's your Scotch Guard, it's any type of flame retardant type of clothing you may have had. That is what that is. It's a PFAS component. So those are the three buckets: AFFF, industry, consumer. And of course, that goes into the environment, and then it's an uptake to humans from human exposure to the environment that way. Okay. So health impact. So the studies continue, just like Don was just asked me. I wish I could tell you every single, I knew now what I'm sure we're all going to know maybe 10 years from now, 15 years from now. It's going to be ever changing. We're going to be learning more and more and more. But here's what we know now. The most recent studies indicate that over 98% of the U.S. population has PFAS in their blood. I've even read a study that said they have found PFAS in polar bear blood, type of thing. It's prevalent. It's prevalent throughout. It may lead to increased cholesterol levels, changes in liver enzymes, small decreases in infant birth weights, decreased vaccine response in children, risk of high blood pressure, preeclampsia in pregnant women, and increased risk of kidney or testicular cancer. Any questions? Can you keep going? Okay, so environmental impacts. So this is part of what is caused the issue, right? Is that they don't break down. You will hear them called the forever chemical. It's not like TCE that after a given amount of time, you've got it all the way down. If I see vinyl chloride, and I know that you all have talked about, I know that TCE has been breaking down for a while. Like this, that's its signature. These PFAS components don't really break down. That's again why they're called a forever chemical. They accumulate over time because obviously they're not breaking down. They're very mobile in groundwater. So that's especially if you have areas where the groundwater is moving quickly, it's going to just move by itself pretty easily. It's a very mobile chemical. Some types of things like mercury, for example, is my point, is that mercury goes and like just sits. Because it's heavy, and PFAS is a little bit lighter. It's going to move. It's just a chemical property there. It can be released in the air as vapors or fine particles, and it does bioaccumulate in fish and other wildlife. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sitting here thinking about this, and here we are saying PFAS is dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. How was it first discovered that it was dangerous? And
how, I do not know the answer to that, right? I don't know if there was how they discovered that the PFAS was causing cancer. I know that the first studies were started in New York. That's where they first started evaluating impacts. You know, as volatile, it's a volatile organic compound. And so volatile organic compound analysis in laboratory settings has become more and more fine-tuned over the last few years. And so as they go through and they can evaluate like what all is present in something, they've become very good at being able to identify that. So I know that in New York is where that study started.
Something kind of spurred it along, but we don't know what's.
I do not have the answer to that. Yes, sir.
So Google says in 1955, a study by Gordon Norby declared PFAS binds to proteins in the human blood. In the 1960s, DuPont buried approximately 200 drums of C8 from the banks of the Ohio River, which exacerbated a national PFAS issue. So it goes back to 55. And then 2014, the International Agency of Research on Cancer declared PFAS to be the most well-studied human carcinogen in the chemical class.
And to be able
That
to,
helps.
it does, thank you, Rick. And I think to also, though, going back to my point too, is that, you know, you also have to have a way to analyze it. You have to be able to analyze something and know if you have it. I will tell you as a side note, EPA just promulgated the analytical methods last month to say that this is how we're going to move forward in analyzing a substance if PFAS is present. So it's very, you know, it's very quickly developing. You know, we've been taking analysis, we have been following the protocols, but they have just promulgated those. So we're right on the cusp of figuring that out. Yeah. All right. Next one, Julie, thank you. Okay, so the DOE PFAS mission statement. And there's going to be another calendar or like a timeline here on the next slide or two. But here's the mission statement for DOE. That protect human health and the environment by assessing and addressing PFAS at DOE sites while deploying the department's scientific expertise to solve PFAS challenges. DOE is committed to coordinate with other agencies and working groups, staying informed on activity, updates, and challenges related to PFAS contamination and regulation. And thirdly, continuing investigations and finding solutions for PFAS contamination at DOE sites. And so essentially, going back to what we were saying before, this is a constant evolving topic, and we're continuing to learn more and more every day about PFAS. And we will continue to work as an interagency effort to try to meet those commitments that we have up there. So here's this timeline. So in September of 2019, DOE developed a PFAS working group out of headquarters. Then in September, there was a PFAS awareness document that was developed. In March of 20, there was a notification made of emerging contaminants in groundwater at Brookhaven National Lab was published. Then in the 21 time period, you started seeing in September, November, December. You saw in September, you saw Secretary David Turk sign a memo addressing PFAS at DOE. In November, PFAS coordinating committee was established. Okay, so that came out of that PFAS working group. And then in December 21, DOE guidance on reporting PFAS containing AFFF releases to the soil. Thank you. And then in August 22, DOE PFAS website was established. In August 22, there was the DOE PFAS roadmap that was published. And I believe as we move forward, and April or myself or someone continues to brief you, you will hear us talking about this PFAS roadmap. That's what we're basically using to try to say, here's what we're doing. You know, here is the path we're following, and that will continue to be refined again as we gain more knowledge. And then November 22, there was an initial assessment report that was released on PFAS.
And most of 23 has been data collection. Headquarters had established an online system for all, with the same set of questions for all the sites to go in and then put their data and information to try to look at it, you know, from a complex, wide perspective.
So then going to the next slide, the DOE actually was a DOE PFAS roadmap. Again, that was established in August 18 of 2022. And so then the next slide, okay, so the rest of this is somewhat talking again about this PFAS roadmap. And I feel like I just keep, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Some of it is a little redundant.
It is, and I know we've talked about this, and I'm gonna tell you that really a lot of the rest of the slides are gonna kind of go back to these 4 pillars. And the point being is that we're trying to make is we don't have all the answers. We probably have more questions than we do answers right now across the entire complex and across the entire, globe, so to speak. We'll keep gaining information. We will keep evaluating the information. We will keep pivoting and refining and honing in what our position is on the collaborative approach of how we're going to address PFAS. So those goals are stated there. Again, is to understand, manage and protect, advance those solutions, and communicate and collaborate. It's about data sharing. It's about trying to get out in front of this and gain as much information as possible right now. Okay, so then the initial assessment for PFAS, again, it was published in 2022. Basically, it was just almost starting off of saying, here is what our understanding is at this time. It's that initial assessment of the data gathering that was collected. That will continue to be a living document and again, being refined as we gain more information. Okay, so the DOE, as far as this initial assessment, the DOE program offices, so that's not just EM, which is of course what Paducah and Portsmouth will fall under, but it's all the different branches within DOE conducted a survey to April's point of all the PFAS inventories. And PFAS inventories meaning not asking how many Teflon gasket seals that we had in the plant, but asking about AFFF that you might have in storage, that type of, what's your inventory of those type of chemicals that you have. They also, the objective was to just get the understanding. Again, we're just trying to gather information. That's what we're trying to do. Get our arms around what do we have on site. We look for potential sources and inventories. They wanted to know from a drinking water standpoint, one of the questions that was asked, that they try to divvy up is, okay, which sites have got their own potable water systems and which are buying or pumping in the water from other municipalities. So those were some of the big questions they were asking. They wanted to know if there had been sampling conducted, detections, what type of routine monitoring programs, if any, that we had, and any type of potential or known off-site migration. So those are the types of questions that were asked because they're trying to gain information, trying to figure out commonalities and how they're going to get their arms around this. Next slide. Okay, so then the big key takeaways. Again, I'm going to go back to on the left side is on this drinking water. Most DOE site survey are supplied by off-site public drinking water systems. PFOA and PFAS, which again, those are part under that umbrella of the big term PFAS, were detected in 2 on-site drinking water systems. That was Idaho and Brookhaven. DOE will soon have PFAS data on drinking water from the few sites that need to sample their on-site sources. And then on the right, the historical and current uses. Many DOE facilities stored, used, and disposed of PFAS containing products in the past. And again, trying to identify historical and current PFAS inventories. And of course, Paducah is one of the ones that has sampled, and published their potable water that they obviously generate their own potable water on site, and we have sampled that. Okay, the next slide, PFAS, in the environment. So a limited number of sites that sample for PFAS. Most sites have sampled for PFAS that have sampled have detected it in their groundwater. Groundwater is the primary media that's been sampled so far. 4 sites that have active PFAS monitoring are Brookhaven, Los Alamos, Rocky Flats, and Savannah River. And then the results of that has caused to have additional record searches. Again, what they're searching for are places where maybe AFFF was used on a routine basis. So lots of questions of where were fire training areas, where do they have controlled burns, those type of things. Any place where you're going to have any type of fire simulation where AFFF would be used would be someplace that would be more prevalent to have PFAS that would have hit the ground percolated down and hit their groundwater table. So those are the types of questions they were asking and why. Next page. And continue efforts. Again, going back, like we were saying, a lot of this is a continuation, but trying to understand, get our arms around it. Do we need to take protective measures based off what that data gathering has given us? Again, trying to expand the body of knowledge, trying to make sure that we understand the technology that we can use. The technology being, how is it analyzed in a lab? How does the samples need to be collected? Does a Sharpie ink pen, within 5 feet of a sample bottle impact your result? I mean, it's that type of level of questioning. How do we sampling it? That's type of advanced solution and how we're trying to gain the samples. It's a biggie. Communicate and collaborate. Again, we're continuing to share information with headquarters and with other agencies.
Let me ask
Yeah,
you another
yeah.
question you don't have the answer to.
Okay.
No, I know,
Well,
because, no, I don't, I'm not meant to be silly that way, but when it comes to inform and engage stakeholders, how do you inform the stakeholders without creating a sense of panic?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think that you have to put it in, context, right? Of is this something that's just inherent to DOE? Is this something inherent to the entire, country? And part of what we're trying to get across is this is a global thing that we're doing. So it's not oh my goodness, you used to work at DOE, hair's on fire, we have a problem. It's just from, like you said, living life. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know how you keep some people from maybe having a sense of panic unduly to, raising the awareness that maybe should be raised for people. I don't think anybody has any.
I think the main thing is just the communication, and sharing, what we know based on our, Labs and other viewing complex data. And then just keep communicating those things. And, like Kelly mentioned in the beginning, it is evolving. So, and I liked Eric's analogy, at the beginning, because it is like you're pretty much blindfolded and trying to keep up with everything coming at us with PFAS. So, I think the main thing is just the communication and continuing to educate and learn about, what is being discovered out there.
Also think because it is so prevalent in everything, in all those day-to-day life things, that they're getting information from more than one source. And we're all basically saying the same thing. It's like, don't really have all the answers yet. It's not just one source we're hearing it from.
Right. Well, I think there's a balance there too, that to April's point, we're trying to communicate as much as we have. And I think sometimes when we're in these settings, we know the answers. We have here's the results of something, we have a path forward because it's already been something established. And we're having to learn the complex wide, worldwide. Yeah. Okay. So again, I think this is somewhat, touches back on what we talked before. It's a gathering, analyzing data, managing and trying to protect, advancing solutions as we expand this body of knowledge. And again, to April's point, communicate, collaborate with other agencies at other DOE sites, and make the most important decisions we possibly can. Specific for Paducah are the next few slides. Paducah does have a potable water source, right? We make our own, at Paducah, we make our own water. We have a water plant. It's not piped in from somewhere else. It meets all the standards of potable water. Much like any municipality along this northern border of Kentucky, most all communities get their water from the Ohio River. And so the water is sourced from the Ohio River, and the Ohio River has been sampled for PFAS. It has been found to have PFAS in it from the Ohio River. Like I said, it's where all the different municipalities are drawing from. I will say though that at the Paducah site, bottled water is provided as the drinking water. So even though the site produces potable water that meets the standards, PFAS or PFAS free or, bottled water that has been determined to be PFAS free is what's provided for consumption, as a water source for influence. PFAS has been detected in groundwater, beneath the former fire training area at Paducah. So we did sample that a few years ago. The groundwater underneath the fire training area there that's on the little bit of the western side of the plant, the southwestern portion of the plant is where the old fire training area was. That groundwater was sampled and it was detected. Of course, as we've already talked about, PFAS has been used, may have been used in other site operations. Again, we're really concentrating on that AFFF, but make sure, everybody understands it may have been used somewhere else. In agreement with EPA Kentucky, environmental sampling of groundwater, surface water and leachate is ongoing. Okay, so as an update to this, that was a really large campaign. It started last spring at the Paducah site, and it just finished up at the first week of September, I believe, is when the last few samples were taken. Leachate from the landfills was taken, surface water discharge like through the outfall ditches, groundwater, all surface water. So all types of water media were targeted and were sampled at the plant as part of this sampling campaign.
Yeah, we revised the environmental monitoring plan that we have to include PFAS for several of the groundwater wells as well.
Yeah.
So that we're doing routine sampling in those.
And so put it in context, it's several hundred samples, that we went and collected. And again, just to reiterate, it's a lot of care that has to be taken in these sample collection to make sure you don't have cross contamination. Groundwater, just to reiterate though, and I know you all are very aware of this, groundwater is not used in the plant. And agreements are in place to provide replacement water and prevent use of off-site groundwater by the public. So again, as you all know, there's a protectedness remedy that we have there, removal action for the water policy box. So there's an agreement there that people do not use their groundwater that are living in that close proximity to the plant. And then disposal of PFAS containing waste is performed in compliance with DOE EM policy.
And right now, just a little bit on that, the AFFF foam, we do have some, and we've co-located it at the site. And there's some grants and things being worked to look at potential how to dispose of them. That's even kind of uncertain in how, if you have it, how do you get rid of it? And so the EM policy currently does not, you have to get EM1 approval prior to trying to send AFFF anywhere for disposal. So even disposal is still evolving on, making sure that wherever you send it, it's going to destroy it because they are resilient to destruction, these forever chemicals.
Okay, so again, that's a summary on the potable water sampling that was done. Again, those two big categories, the PFAS, which are the PFOS and PFOA. So you see there were multiple samples collected. So there's a range there of the Paducah results. Again, ranges because there were multiple samples collected. And then in comparison, because again, our potable water, our raw water is being pumped in from the Ohio River. It comes into the water plant that is then treated. So the raw water from the Ohio River was tested on multiple samples. And so here are the results there that range, they're listed aside of what the Paducah potable water results are. So basically are seeing that, what is coming in from the Ohio is what we have there in the site that was contained in our potable water. EPA has drafted MCLs. Those are still in the process. Again, it's, all agencies are trying to develop this, are trying to develop our approach, how we're going to address this. These are still proposed MCLs, and the proposed MCL is 4, and that's 4 part per trillion. So we used to define lots of things out here in terms of TCE, and I know Eric and other people have presented over the years like TCE, MCL is like 1 eyedropper, in a swimming pool. So that's in the part per, million or billion. This is part per trillion. So add a couple of swimming pools, and don't take that literally, but just to give you some context. Very, very, very low limits. is what's being proposed. So PFAS results using an EPA approved method. And again, this is what EPA, they have just promulgated it, made it official, but it has been approved for some time. I mean, it was an understanding what people were using. Again, the potable water results are greater than some of the EPA draft MCOs. So again, you see the limit that's being proposed is 4, and you see what the results are over there on the other side. Again, bottled water has been provided for drinking water to site personnel through a commercial vendor since 2015. PFAS results for this bottled water performed in January 2022 by the vendor using an EPA-approved method were all non-detect. So again, the bottled water coming in to the plant that the employees are drinking has been tested by the vendor, and it's saying that it's PFAS. They are stating that it's PFAS free. Okay, next slide. Okay, so next steps for Paducah. Okay, so evaluating the options for providing PFAS-free potable water. Again, right now, you know, it's not that we're not doing something. We're providing the bottled water that PFAS is for free potable water. But again, we're looking at ways, you know, how do we make potable water? Looking at how the treatment system is, making it PFAS-free is something obviously that's on the list to evaluate. Continuing environmental sampling project to identify additional PFAS source areas. So that includes, you know, any type of burial grounds, spill areas, landfills, and those are source areas for fire training areas. And we are, of course, all the information that we get like that, we are sharing with EPA in Kentucky. We'll continue our compliance with DOE requirements for disposal to April's point. We will continue compliance with DOE requirements for procurement of PFAS-containing materials. So, of course, our environmental compliance teams, you know, they review all purchase regs that come into the system. So, you know, there's a process in place that we have for screening those. And we will continue with public outreach and stakeholder integration. Again, sharing the information as we get it, but, you know, understanding that we will give you the data. We just may not necessarily have all the answers to what those results, you know, mean, because we're still evolving.
Yeah, and back on the procurement of the PFAS containing materials, the DOE sustainability order has a lot of details on the procurement of those, and we actually modified each contractor's contract to update that order for it to be included. So, so all contractors are following that sustainability order for their contract with that updated language. Yeah.
So the last page on this presentation is you can obviously scan that QR code for that DOE PFAS website that was established about 18 months ago. And there's also, you know, a mailbox there for the DOE PFAS committee where you can put questions to. So that's included in this as well. So any comments, questions?
Are you gonna have a plume map?
For PFAS as we go?
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily if I would say it's a plume map. What we're doing right now is we're in the middle of drafting the report. So like I said, all that sampling was concluded back in that first week of September. The report is still being finalized. The data was sent off. The data was validated. There was a validation procedure that was in place. So it's been third party independently validated. The report is supposed to be submitted to DOE next week. So I don't expect to have a plume map, so to speak, but the data will be
A map of
plotted.
concentration.
Yeah, so it'll look more like a measles map type of graph, not necessarily a plume map.
Yeah.
But sure, that'll be forthcoming as part of this, the data sharing. Sure.
As you pull water from the Ohio, and we saw the data that says 47 parts per trillion.
Yeah.
As you treat the water to utilize it, are you also removing PFAS, or is it still in there once it's treated?
So that when it's coming out, it's still present.
Okay, then, you know, let me ask a follow-up question, one that Buzz, this relates to the one I sent to you. During your demolition process, you use water spray to keep dust down. And that's standard practice. Are we introducing possibly PFAS into areas that would not have had it before because of standard industry practice during demolition. And then, is that gonna skew some of your data then?
I mean, I can say, that's another great question. I can tell you that as we move forward, as we go forward and we develop D&D plans, I can absolutely tell you that we will consider, like, this is something that we know is in existence. We know that what that water's coming in. We are aware of it. It will be included in that D&D plan, as we move forward on the major demolition. But I can't tell you specifically, at this moment in time, how that's going to look. But it's certainly an excellent question. And it's certainly not lost on us.
And the good news is we have a little time before that decision is going to be made, correct?
That is correct.
Couple years at least, so.
Yeah.
We'll time to agree.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation, very much so. I think it made us aware more so of that big umbrella. And from an article, and let me just share this, you talk about your analogy, an article that I had read in Evansville paper. So you can use it, because people can relate to food. 4 parts per trillion is 1 grain of salt on 10 tons of potato chips.
Wow.
That's an excellent analogy. Yeah.
So you can run to your local store, start buying potato chips just to see what that looks like.
Very low number.
Very much so.
Anybody else?
Yes. You do come up with questions later. And I have a feeling some of you, as you drive home, will think, oh, should have asked. Or as you go over the documents again, you come up, forward them. I have Buzz who gets them out to our presenters today, and they will provide you with answers back. Even if there are those questions that they just have to say, at this time, we don't know. Because we know there's a lot of those questions. You have those questions.
We do. I mean, we, obviously we have some of the same exact questions that you have as well, and so, but that's where it starts. That's how you get information, is by asking questions. So.
Okay. Eric, are we aware of any public comments?
We have none.
Would you state for the people that are viewing?
Absolutely. If you would like to participate and provide public comment, you can always submit those in writing up to 1 week from today. And you can share those at eric@egbdpcab.org. And if you would just put public comment in the topic line, that would be fantastic.
Any board member have any final comments tonight you wish to make? April, Buzz, any final comments tonight?
None.
So Andrew, are we safe to make your big announcement? Do you wanna, you have big plans for this, right?
Yeah, starting in June, I still want to be on the cab and, be on the team, but I have to make my appearances on teams because I'm moving to Louisville for a work after graduation.
Congratulations.
The next step.
So, Reynolds,
Consumer products.
consumer products, Reynolds Wrap, things of that nature.
Reynolds Wrap, empty products, Presto.
PFAS.
Just send some down the Ohio.
We're super excited for Andrew and this opportunity for him, and hate the fact that he's gonna be out of the community for a little while, but, Louisville's not that far.
I want to thank everybody that was present tonight, whether you were a presenter, board member, or one of the guests in the back participating in this. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your sharing of your knowledge and your time. And if there are no more comments,